cooks in the kitchen.
Hello and welcome to the November and December holiday shows for So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. We are a group of Physicians Committee Food for Life instructors. We teach healthy, whole food, plant-based, vegan nutrition and cooking. We've been in the kitchen sharing recipes with you for more than 3.5 years. We decided for November and December, many of us, you and us, are limited on time and you want to get some neat ideas for recipes. So rather than doing a full-blown show, we're actually recording. We're using some of our past recordings from past shows and reprising them. So this is recorded. I recorded this shortly before our first show. And all the other shows you're going to see have been excerpted from our past shows. So while we aren't going to be cooking live in November and December, the good news is we have more shows, short shows, 5 different shows in November and December. We'll be back live for our next show in January. But while we're not live, we are behind the scenes watching your questions come in. So please ask questions and we will respond on social media. Enjoy. Today's show is called So Many Sweet Potatoes. Sweet potatoes are wonderful to eat. They're a great source of vitamin A. One serving of sweet potato gives you almost 8 times the daily recommended value. It's a good source of vitamin C, B6, manganese, potassium, copper, and niacin. And sweet potatoes are good sources of fiber. A cup of sweet potato will give you about 6.5 grams of fiber. We recommend in the Food for Life program about 40 grams of fiber a day. Fiber keeps you regular. It makes sure that when you're done with your digestion that you're not just sitting around with stuff inside you, that you just let it go. It has many other benefits, but high fiber diets have a lot of evidence of their tremendous benefits. There's so many kinds of sweet potatoes. You may have heard of yams too. So sweet potatoes, at least in the United States, are more common. They're smoother. They have fine roots. If you look carefully, you'll see these little roots, kind of like carrot roots. They have fine roots, like carrots. Yams are rougher. They're browner, and they have a bark-like skin with less sweet flavor. Yams can also develop eyes like potatoes can. There's so many kinds of sweet potatoes. My favorite color is purple, and I didn't buy it, but there's the purple sweet potato. Even though it's my favorite color, I don't like the flavor of the purple sweet potato as much. This sweet potato, for example, is called a garnet. I'm just going to check my notes. A garnet. It's sometimes called a red yam. It's not a yam. It's sometimes called a red yam. It's called garnet because the skin is a garnet red-purple color. The flesh inside, and what you can do with sweet potatoes, you can just snap it sometimes. It looks like this one. Yeah. You can see inside it's an orange-yellow flesh, which is what most people expect for sweet potatoes. This variety is called a Covington. And I don't know if this is common throughout the country or in other countries. I do know that the Covington was developed at North Carolina State University, which is an easy drive from my house. It's in Raleigh. I'm in Durham. Sweet potato is a major crop of a major part of the economy of North Carolina. And so this was developed at North Carolina State University. It's rose-colored on the outside, and the flesh is orange. Let's cut the end a little bit. Let me just get a knife. Let's see what it looks like inside. Yeah, so there you see it's a little bit lighter colored. It's actually similar. But my favorite sweet potato, and I know several others are also using it, is the Japanese sweet potato. I don't know the origin. It probably came from Japan originally, but it's certainly grown locally. This is a local Japanese sweet potato. I love the skin. It's purple, and if you cut the end, you'll see. Let me get my knife again. Sometimes they just snap, and you can see what it looks like inside. But there you go. It's a creamy, off-white flesh. and it tastes wonderful. Some people describe Japanese sweet potatoes as being nutty, maybe like roasted chestnuts. It's a bit sweeter than other sweet potatoes. I love it. From my point of view, if every time I eat a sweet potato is a Japanese sweet potato, that's wonderful. And that's what I'm going to be cooking with today. So here's some sweet potatoes. I'm going to move this out of the way. Sweet potatoes are really easy to cook with. Some people boil them, some people bake or roast them. The way I prepare sweet potatoes is I simply put them in a pressure cooker, and I put them on a trivet so they're not touching the bottom. I put maybe a 1/4 cup of water, and then depending on the size of the sweet potato, if it's a medium-sized sweet potato like this is cooked, then it will cook down in about 9, 10, 12 minutes. If it's a big sweet potato, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. So what I do is I rinse the sweet potato, I scrub it, I put it on a trivet, I close the pressure cooker, and it doesn't matter whether I'm cooking 1 or 3, 4, or 5, I cook for 9 to 20 minutes depending on the size of the sweet potato. Okay? So if you want more texture in the sweet potato, cook it for a little less time. If you don't mind really soft sweet potato, or in fact if you're making mashed sweet potato, cook it for a longer time. Okay, so today I have I think it's a simple dish. It's a pasta dish. I'm going to be using this really fun pasta that I discovered a couple years ago. It's made, I think, in New York City. It's called sfogliatini. Sfogliatini. You can use any pasta you want. I strongly recommend you use a whole grain pasta. This is a whole grain reganetti, and it only has 2 ingredients. It has organic hard red wheat flour and organic durum semolina, and it's a whole grain. So I like this. I like the texture of it. This is the uncooked, and you see it has this neat shape, which I think is pretty fun. Now, when you have a shaped pasta like this allows for space, and when you add ingredients like sweet potatoes, then they will all mesh well together when you have some space like that instead of being squished together. So I'm going to be using this pasta. Other special ingredients is we want to get some good protein in there, so good beans. Any excuse for beans is wonderful, so I made some beans. To make these beans, you can do the stovetop. You can also cook sweet potatoes stovetop or in an oven. I have 1.5 cups of beans. All the quantities are on our recipe document, and it's published. Hopefully somebody will put that up on the screen. When I'm done cooking, I can do that as well. So we have 1.5 cups of beans, and I cooked this with 2 cloves of minced garlic. And then when the beans were done, I mixed in some frozen spinach. It was hot enough that the spinach cooked in that amount of heat. Some onion, and then a little bit of salt, lemon pepper, garlic powder, and a little bit of smoked paprika. So there's my beans with spinach. Let's take a look at the sweet potato. So here's the sweet potato. And what I did is before we started, I went ahead and I chopped one of the sweet potatoes. This requires 2 sweet potatoes into roughly 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch pieces. But I thought on camera I'd do the other one. You don't have to remove the skin. In fact, the skin has a lot of nutrition. I buy organic as much as possible. I try to buy all organic. If it weren't organic, I think I would probably remove the skin, but this is organic. And sweet potatoes are readily available organic. So what I can do if I want to remove the skin is I can just kind of rub it. I can cut the very end off. And then you see if I want to remove the skin, it will come off. But you know what I'm going to do for this batch is I'm going to leave the skin on. Okay, I'm actually going to discard the very end piece because it is a little bit harder. So I'll take the 2 ends off. Okay. I like, as I said, one thing I love about Japanese sweet potato isn't just the flavor, but its texture. And you're going to see, and that's why I wanted to cut on camera. It's giving a little resistance, and of course that varies depending on how much I cooked it. Okay. And as I said, I'm going to leave the skin on for this second one. So we're going to have sweet potato with 1/2 of it with skin, 1/2 of it without. So we'll get a little bit more color and a little bit more nutrition. Frankly, I'm not that concerned about nutrition because sweet potato is such a nutritive food that if you choose to remove the skin, that's fine. Okay, so let's cut this into cubes. Please ask any questions. I obviously won't see your question right now, but when I'm done, and my colleagues, of course, will see your question. And if it's a question specifically for me, then when I'm done, give me a few minutes to clean up and be back on camera and I can take a look. If you're watching this recorded, of course, you can still post questions if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, and we will some point see those comments and make responses. At the end, all of us aren't available, but a number of us are available. We'll be back for a Q&A session, and we have a couple nice prizes to give away for people at that point who are asking questions. Okay, so here's my second sweet potato, the remaining parts. I'm going to cut. It's looking pretty good. I can't resist. What I'm going to do is I love Japanese sweet potato. I'm just going to take this, skin and all. It's so good. It's really good. I wish I could reach out to the camera and hand you a piece to try. Trust me, it's really good. Okay, let me get my serving dish. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the pasta in here. So I don't know if you can see the pasta. I boiled the pasta. When you make pasta, follow the instructions on the label. This says that we should boil for 9 to 10 minutes, which is what I did. And I think probably all of you know this. You want to cook till it's al dente, just done. And what you'll do is you'll take a piece, put some cold water under it so you can handle it, and bite it with your teeth. And if it gives a little bit of resistance, you're good. And that's what this is. Okay. And of course, the time will vary a little bit depending on if you're at an elevation, or if depending on your elevation or the heat of the water. And I'm going to go ahead. It's been sitting just for a few minutes. I did this just before the show, so I'm going to mix this a little bit. So there's my pasta. Really easy dish. You can use any kind of pasta you want. I do recommend a rectangular shaped one as opposed to capellini or spaghetti. In Italy, they pronounce it spaghetti. My wife and I, before we had our daughter, had a lovely trip to Italy. The food was so good. Carolyn, who's also on the show, she recently went to Italy. So Carolyn, when you come on, you may want to comment about your experience with Italy. Then what I'm going to do is I have sauteed on a cast iron pan. So I didn't add any oil, and I nicely cooked. You can see how well the onions and everything cooked. This is onions and carrots, garlic, and bell pepper. I wish I had some green bell pepper. And the recipe that I'm sharing with you also calls for mushroom. And as I was preparing all the ingredients today, I said, shucks, I forgot to buy mushrooms. Mushrooms go great in this. And the recipe tells you what to do. Cut the mushrooms thicker than you otherwise would because they really cook down. Okay? So pretend there's mushrooms here. It's okay if there's no mushrooms. I'm going to put all of this no oil sauteed vegetables into the serving dish. Okay, there we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the sweet potato. Start mixing a little bit. And then I'm going to use some diced tomatoes right here. You can get fire roasted. And the beans are warm, but just to get a little more heat, I'm just going to quickly throw this in the pan just for a moment. Warm it up a little bit. So ideally, as you probably know, a lot of tomato dishes taste better as leftovers because the flavors marinate. And I'm going to also be adding some herbs, and I'll go ahead and add this to the tomato sauce that's warming up. So if you're cooking a number of dishes, it might be good to make this sauce early on and just let it sit for an hour or so. Simmer it for 20 minutes, something like that. Add a little bit of wine if you'd like for that flavor, and the alcohol will boil away. But I'm just going to add this now. What I probably should have done is before showtime, I probably should have made the sauce, and then I could have showed you the simmering sauce. So in my garden, I had some basil, and it's starting to get, here in North Carolina, it's getting cold, so we're getting some freeze spots. They still taste fine, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of basil. Okay, so fresh herbs are great. So I'm going to put that in the sauce. My recipe as written suggests adding it to the pasta, but you can put it in the sauce. And I'm also, in the sauce, going to add a little bit of salt. This is about a half teaspoon of salt. You can add more or less to your preference. I have some nutritional yeast, so I'll go ahead and add the nutritional yeast also to the sauce. Okay, so there we go. Mix all that in. And again, I'm just warming it, but ideally you would do this early on and let it sit. I'm also going to add the black beans. You could add also cannellini beans or pinto beans, white beans. You could add other kinds of beans, but I use black beans. I cook this in my pressure cooker. You can buy canned beans. That goes in as well. It's about 1.5 cups. Okay. And finally, I'm going to add the sauce. Sauce goes in. There's different ways of serving sauce with pasta. When I was very young, I had a grandmother from Sicily. She became my adopted grandmother because we lived at her home. And so she would mix the pasta in with the sauce. But then when I got older, I saw a lot of people would heat the sauce and put it on top of the pasta, which is what I tend to do. Okay. So we're basically done. This will serve 4. Be good for 4 dinners, 3 if you're very hungry. And one final optional step, and instead of the diced tomatoes, you could use a sauce if you would like. Optionally, you could make a cheese sauce, and I'm going to include in the recipe document how to make the cheese sauce. You basically blend water with nutritional yeast, garlic powder, salt, black pepper. That's it. So I was shopping last week, and I thought I would show this on camera. There's more and more vegan sauces available. And so it's so easy to make your own, but I bought this to try it. This is a new brand. It's called the Creamy Jalapeno Dip. And we recommend that each dish that you serve for a meal should be ideally no more than about 3 grams of fat. So this is nut-based, but one serving, which in this case is 2 tablespoons, is 3.5 grams of fat. The rest of the dish won't have a lot of fat, so you could feel comfortable if you put as much as 2 tablespoons. I don't think you need 2 tablespoons, but you could, and you're still at 3.5 grams with this, and plus a little bit more for the rest of the ingredients. So this has water, cashew, jalapeno. It has vinegar, lemon juice, sea salt, nutritional yeast, tomato, onion, garlic, shiitake mushrooms, xanthan gum, which makes it thicker, paprika, and cayenne pepper. You probably can't see this on camera, but I'll go ahead and hold this up. So there are all these wonderful vegan sauces available. You don't have to make your own. It's so easy to make your own. One thing I wanted to mention is when you go to the store, if it says plant-based, that's a good thing. But plant-based doesn't mean vegan. It may be primarily plant-based, but this also says vegan, and I just read the ingredients to you. I think the pasta is done. What you could do is you could put some breadcrumbs, put a little bit of cheese sauce on top, and put it in the oven, 350 degrees, 375 for maybe 8 to 10 minutes, just to get everything nice and married together. But I'm going to serve it as is. No cheese sauce, no breadcrumbs. So mix it a little bit more. How does it look? You can tell just by looking at this, it's yummy and nutritious. One thing which would go really well, and pretend there's mushrooms in here, one thing that would go really well here would be some artichokes. Okay. So there's our pasta dish. Wow. I served this for my family a few days ago, and they really liked it. And it's good again. The sweet potato adds such a nice contrasting flavor. It's just delicious.
Marhaba, as they say here. Our topic today is sweet potatoes. You've already heard several recipes, yummy ones as well, and I have one picked from Otto Lengi's amazing book called Flavor. He's not a whole food plant-based cook, but in the book Flavor, you will find amazing vegetable dishes which you can adapt yourself if you wish. And I've done that for the sweet potato dish that he has, which is called sweet potatoes in tomato, lime, and cardamom sauce. All the ingredients are here. There's not a whole heck of a lot. Remember, the exact details and recipes are in our recipe booklet and available for you online. I've already made this dish yesterday. We had it for dinner. It was amazing, and my omnivore husband also loved it, so that's something to say about a flavorful dish. As Otto Lengi explains in his book, the flavors are amazing, and you can achieve the best delicious dishes by combining certain elements like the oils and the spices and the sweet and the sour and the sweet and the spicy and so on. And this dish is an amazing amalgamation of all of these. I have, as I said, taken the oil out and the processed sugars out, but it hasn't done anything to hinder the flavor. I used this big pot to do it because you need something with a cover. If you have a frying pan, a deep frying pan with a cover, that will work too. I don't have one, so I use this. And today I have reheated, and I will show you here how amazingly dark, charred almost, the sweet potatoes are. So that's one of the tricks actually of this dish. The first step is to chop your sweet potatoes and put them in the oven for about 20 minutes and then another 10 minutes after that to ensure that they are nicely browned on one side. As they're cooking, you do your tomato sauce. For that, I've used chopped tomatoes, and one of the tricks of this recipe is that to use the chopped tomatoes and put them in a food processor and blitz them until they're smooth. And then you add a little bit of tomato paste for added flavor, that really oomph of the tomato in the sauce. And then you add, afterwards you add the zest and of limes. You saute shallots, or are you on the shallots team? I say potato, you say potato. So the shallots are chopped finely, the garlic is chopped finely, and the chilies are chopped finely. Word of caution, the chilies I have bought are extremely hot, so even though the recipe says use 2, I can barely use 1. Otherwise, we need the fire department here. And then for the final touch, you need some dill, which, as you can see, is here. So once you saute the chilies, garlic, and onion, you take a little bit of it and you reserve it for later use, which is this mixture. And your tomato sauce is done pretty much at the same time as when your sweet potatoes come out of the oven. And it doesn't matter, your sweet potatoes can be roasted and ready to go while you're doing the sauce. You adjust your timing. But you have your sauce in the big pan and your potatoes have roasted, so you put the two together and you cover and you simmer for another 10 minutes. So all of the flavors, the sweetness of the caramelized sweet potatoes and the tangy, spicy, sweet tomato sauce, they all blend together and it's amazing. So once everything is cooked, you serve you sprinkle this on the entire dish, but here I'm going to show you how it looks for just one serving. So you dish out your amazing sweet potatoes with the delicious sauce. And this sauce, by the way, is wonderful on its own as well. You can use it for other things. I've said that in the recipe book. I have used this sauce for with cannellini beans. It was amazing. I also did sweet potatoes and cannellini beans together just to have more as a nutrition, because at that time I served it as a standalone main course, whereas last night we had this dish as a side together with some quinoa and pan-fried tofu, and it was yummy. So here I have the lime juice, the chopped dill, and a little bit of the reserved sauteed shallots, garlic, and chili. All of them mixed give this a tangy and spicy, amazing flavor. So you sprinkle it with dollops of that onto your dish, and you're ready. But as an extra, I have made cashew sour cream, and the recipe is in the booklet too. And I put a dollop of cashew sour cream to serve with my amazing sweet potato dish.
Hi everyone, I'm Susanna Dickman and I'm from Evansville, Indiana. Today I'm going to make one of my family's favorite appetizers, and that is a cheese ball. You can see the final product here. I like putting a little smoked paprika and pumpkin seeds on it. And we like to serve it with carrots, celery. We've got some crackers and some kohlrabi that we had left over from our farm share. So let's get to making this delicious cheese ball appetizer that you and your family can enjoy. What I love about this recipe is that I only really use one appliance, my food processor and then a bowl. So the first thing we're going to do, we want to use a extra firm tofu. And I did drain this when I opened the package, but I didn't press it because I want it to have some of that moisture. So you don't press your tofu. And I'm just going to put this in chunks and put it in my food processor. And we all know how healthy tofu is for us. It's high in protein, it's high in calcium, it also is safe, and it's a good option to eat when you want to add additional protein. Here I have some nutritional yeast, a little bit of onion and garlic powder. We're going to put some chickpeas in, so we're going to add some added fiber. So let me get those in. Next, we're going to add some miso, and miso is going to add that savory, kind of salty flavor without adding a ton of sodium, so it's going to be really good for us. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow mustard. If you want, you could use a Dijon mustard or, you know, maybe even a brown mustard. I'm just using yellow right now. And then I want to, you can put up to 1/4 teaspoon of liquid smoke. I would recommend, if you're a real big fan of it, then go ahead and do that much. If you're not, just add a couple drops. So I'm just going to put a few drops. And I'm also going to put a few drops of maple syrup. You can also use agave nectar. But I don't want it to be too sweet, so I am just going to add just a tiny bit. That's all my ingredients for now. So I am going to put this on and we're going to process it. As it's processing, you'll notice, you know, it's going to look really dry at first, and then all of a sudden it's just going to come together and kind of look like a dough almost. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to process it on high. All right, did you see that? It's magic. It just all of a sudden started coming together. Now I put on some gloves because I'm going to mold it in my hands, and I just like to wear gloves, even though, you know, my family and I are just going to be eating this. But look at how nicely it came together, and it's not even that sticky. So I'm able to shape it with my hands. Let me go ahead and get it all out of here. But that's basically it. At this point, you'd want to put this in the fridge for a couple of hours, just so the flavors come together and really get to, you know, just to add the depth of flavor. But because, you know, I don't want to do that right now because you're watching, I'm going to just shape it into a ball And then, like I said, I like to add smoked paprika. So I find the easiest way to do that is just to add a little smoked paprika to my bowl and just start rolling it around in there, because then I can keep the shape and also make sure that it's all covered. And I see, you know, I always have a couple spots where I might have missed. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. You could use, I've added fresh parsley to this now on the outside. You know, if you wanted to go, just, you know, find out what spices you like best and do it. My husband loves chili and cumin, so I think he would do that and maybe add some cilantro. I also like to add some pepitas, some pumpkin seeds. So again, the easiest way I found is just to put them in my bowl, and then I can just roll it around, just making sure that I'm trying to get it coated everywhere. But that's it, it's done. Like I said, this will go in the fridge, and I will let it melt, all the flavors come together and marry, and then put it on a plate, put it with crackers and other vegetables, and enjoy. It is so good. One thing I got to tell you, I haven't even, my husband has used this as a sandwich bread when, you know, we've had leftovers. So there you go. It's just so, I think it's so pretty. It will spruce up your table, and your guests will think that you spent hours working on it, and it takes just no amount of time at all.
So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.